We will, when we come back after dealing with Johnson, who will no doubt try to tell you more lies about what happened last night, we'll talk about that great issue, Operation Just Cause.
Wishing you the best of the season. This is WLS Chicago Talk Radio 890. WLS. Time at the Jingle Bells, 5 o'clock.
If you know on traffic.
Well, this is interesting.
Yes. Bob Lassiter.
Just come up and dance, Johnson. You know it didn't happen.
Was it a dream?
Yeah, it must have been a dream, Johnson.
I could have sworn I moved around with someone on the dance floor last night.
Welcome back, Fun Seekers. A Thursday, December the 21st, 1989. Lassiter with you at WLS Talk Radio 890, Chicago's talk station, here until 7, as I am every weekday. Let me try to jog your memory a little bit. Let me try to get you to think about something that happened in the past. The invasion of Panama. I appreciate that it was really only yesterday, although I imagine most of you have already forgotten about it and have more or less put it out of your mind. It is, of course, labeled Operation Just Cause, and it's the kind of thing that at least yesterday filled the hearts of most Americans, that filled the breasts of most Americans with pride and patriotism, because we went down there and did kick out that nasty old Noriega, and that was good. Of course, there are a few nagging questions, like, the fact that we were told that the invasion was a direct result of and a response to attacks on Americans living in Panama, but it was in the planning stages for several months. But then I suppose, like our last president, perhaps Mr. Bush employs a soothsayer and knows in advance what's going to happen. And then, of course, there was the problem of yet another failure on the part of our beloved CIA, not knowing where poor old Pineapple Face was, and that's not only embarrassing, it cost a lot of lives as well. And it's somewhat confusing, I guess, for a lot of Americans that virtually all of our South and Central American neighbors are kind of ticked off about the invasion. They have a tendency to frown on the U.S. blowing into town, guns blazing, to set things right. It makes them a little nervous, since virtually all of them have suffered from it at one time or another. But, hey, what the hey? What else is new, huh? It's just business as usual. Or is it? There is something new here. There's definitely something new here, and it's funny, I don't remember hearing it mentioned this morning or this afternoon while I was listening to talk radio. I don't remember anybody mentioning it, and it's really quite extraordinary, I think. I mean, the mighty United States of America, our beloved United States of America, and its fearless leader, and its noble Just Cause operation, and its glorious invasion didn't quite do what it was supposed to do. That is to capture Mr. Noriega. And I guess only time will tell. It's possible that there may be some long-range ramifications out of this. It's possible that we just might have triggered a long-term guerrilla war in Panama. We'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, there is something new in all of this. Maybe it escaped you. The bounty. Yeah, the 1 million smackaroos that have been offered for the capture of Manuel Noriega. That brings up at least two questions. 1 million. Jeez, is that all he's worth? I mean, I thought this guy was supposedly the scourge of the earth. I thought this man was supposed to be responsible for almost everything that was wrong, and all we can do is come up with a lousy $1 million. And the second question is, golly, I mean, we spend billions on guns and tanks and invisible bombers and mess kits and helmets and aircraft carriers and attractive pension plans for the guys, but we have degenerated to the point of having to offer bounties for the capture of our enemies. I'm confused. I mean, if that's the way to go, why didn't George just offer the bounty in the first place, before going to all that trouble and losing all those lives? I mean, why didn't he just do that in the first place? We'll give a $1 million bounty for the capture of General Noriega, and he could have kept all the troops at home. Do you see what I mean? That invasion cost Well, it costs quite a few bucks. And these are indeed very tough times with, what with a budget deficit and trade deficits and deficits here and deficits there. And, of course, it embarrassed the CIA again. And the fact of the matter is the invasion didn't really work, and it's not working yet. Hey, let's face it. The Pentagon and the CIA just ain't that good at doing what we expect of them, ladies and gentlemen. They blew it in Libya, where they went in to bomb Gaddafi and they missed him. They blew it in Lebanon because it never dawned on them that somebody might drive a truckload of dynamite into the barracks. They needed 2 weeks to round up 700 and some odd construction workers in Grenada. And now they've misplaced Noriega. Anybody over there see Noriega? Hey! Did you see a guy in a white Guayabera carrying a big sword with a lot of acne? Would you give us a call? If you do, we'll give you some money. That's in essence what it is, what it boils down to. I mean, the administration yesterday and today have announced that the job was done. Yeah, well, we went in there with 20-some-odd thousand troops, and we misplaced Noriega. But we have restored democracy to Panama. Yeah, we put the president and the two vice presidents into office. Of course, they can't leave the Army base, the U.S. Army base, because it's not safe for them out there. But the job is virtually over now. Just a little bit of mopping up. And while they're doing this, old Pineapple Face was on the radio last night. The state-run radio station. I thought they were just mopping up now. I mean, they either forgot to capture it, or the mighty U.S. Army was driven off by a bunch of disc jockeys. I mean, I can't think of any other possible explanation, and neither is really a very pleasant thought, is it? But anyway, back to this bounty. I think maybe George might have stumbled on something here. Just offer bounties. Hey, $1 million for Noriega, maybe $3 million for Castro, possibly $10 million for a Russian. I don't know. Just let your mind, just let your imagination run free with this one. I mean, if it works, if somebody does call up, I know where Noriega is. Where can I get the $1 million? It would be a hell of a lot cheaper, not only in terms of dollars, but lives. And it would be a hell of a lot less embarrassing. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't cost us anything. Come on. So what if the rest of the world snickers behind our backs if this is the way we continue to do business? I mean, they just do anyway, right? Do you really think anybody is impressed in this world with Operation Just Cause except you? Here we have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff holding a press conference wearing that delightful uniform. It looks so good. It's a military. It's got, brass all over it and ribbons and medals. And he's declaring victory, saying that old Pineapple Face is a fugitive on the run. And making all kinds of snide remarks about, I don't think I'll be very happy living in the jungle, He's a fugitive on the run. And meanwhile, old Pineapple Face is literally blabbing on the radio. That's the kind of thing that Snickers are made of, my friends. And who in the hell was it that came up with this Just Cause code name? Whoever the hell he is, he's got to go. I mean, code names used to be colorful and manly. Things like Bulldog or Hellfire, Operation Hellfire. Operation Just Cause? I mean, would General Patton have asked troops to go into battle and die under the banner of an operation called Just Cause? I want you to go in there. I want you to rip their faces off. I want you to pull their legs off. And then I want you to kill them. And I want you to have fun doing it. Because, for God, country, and the American way, I want you to go out there and fight under the banner of Just Cause? I don't think so. Sounds kind of sissy-ish. Of course, that brings up still another question. George Bush. Yeah, he's the one that's behind this bounty thing. Yeah, I want to keep coming back to the bounty. Would Truman have stooped to offering a bounty for his enemies? Harry the Buck Stops Here Truman versus George Pass the Bucks Bush? Now, it's kind of a wimpy thing to do, isn't it? Offering a bounty. The great United States of America offering a bounty. Not even 24 hours after the invasion began, they've given up. The mighty United States admitting that it's literally impotent. And here's the kicker. No one seems to see the irony in this. Months of planning, 20,000 plus troops, every toy the Army ever asked for. Noriega got away. It would seem to me that since they came up with a bounty offer so quickly, they know they're incapable of doing the job. Like, do you really think that the bounty was part of the original plan? Yeah, we'll drop a couple of thousand troops over here. We'll march a few thousand troops over there, and less than 24 hours later, we'll offer a bounty. Mercy, what would John Wayne think of something like this? I just don't understand why we didn't offer the cash in front in the first place, you know? Remember, it was for two purposes: to restore democracy and to catch old Pineapple Face. Well, as long as old Pineapple Face is running around free, and as long as the newly elected government is holed up on a U.S. Army base, and as long as the country of Panama is an anarchy, you did see, of course, the pictures of the looting, didn't you? And as long as there's a power vacuum, then the invasion was a failure. It accomplished neither goal. So maybe Noriega's on a run. Big deal. There's no democracy in Panama. There's no peace in Panama. And Noriega got away. And we have Succo offering a bounty. Literally offering a bounty. Arctic cold continuing into the night. Tomorrow sunny, but still very cold. An overnight low of 15 degrees below zero. A high tomorrow of only zero. Currently 10, minus 10 make that for both the official and the lakefront temperature. WLS Skyview Traffic with Bill Keller is next. This edition brought to you by Preview. But most of the talk show hosts, most of the commentators, most of the newscasts, and obviously the spokesman for the administration, as well as George Bush himself, are telling you that this is a grand and glorious victory for freedom, God, the American way, and Kate Smith records, or whatever it might be. But the fact of the matter is that A, they missed Noriega, and B, things really aren't any different in Panama. As a matter of fact, they're a hell of a lot worse. No one's in control. There's a power vacuum, and as long as Noriega remains free, then true democracy will not surface in Panama in any shape, manner, or form. So long as he remains free. It puts off the announced goal of the invasion. So I guess what we're really saying here is that democracy in Panama is only worth a million smackaroos, right? Because you've got to get Noriega if you want the democracy in Panama. And we have offered a $1 million bounty for Noriega. So that's all democracy is worth in Panama. That works out to about 45.5 cents a head in cold, hard cash. This whole bounty thing really says a lot about us, doesn't it? And it also says that we've not learned our lesson. You see, when you offer to pay someone to do something that he would not have otherwise done, you're dealing with somebody who's not very nice. And that's how we got into this mess to start with, by paying old Pineapple Face to do something he would not have otherwise done. We paid him to spy on and to rat on commies. And the great anti-communist Manuel Noriega supposedly, I presumably, would not have done so unless he was paid. And now we want to pay somebody to rat on Manuel Noriega, or hadn't you thought about it that way? See, the only people who could possibly turn in Noriega are the people around him. They're the only ones that know where he is. And I think we can reasonably presume, can we not, that these are bad guys themselves. These are would-be dictators, would-be drug lords, would-be American abusers. Seems to me that proves that we haven't learned our lesson, doesn't it? I mean, we will deal with any kind of a scum bucket. And, of course, somebody who was hanging around with Noriega would be a scum bucket, right? So long as it meets our short-term goal. And when it goes sour, well, hey, we waste some bright-eyed kids from Iowa and Indiana and Ohio and Illinois. and we do it all over again. Well, look out now. Here comes the hook. The hook is the important part of the show, and it is coming right now. Aren't you guys embarrassed? I mean, you couldn't possibly support a bounty, could you? I mean, you do know what it's saying. It is saying that the U.S. government, the U.S. military, the U.S. CIA is incompetent. They are incapable of pulling off an assignment like this, going into a country without an army, where they already have large military installations, and picking up Noriega, and they can't do it. And less than 24 hours into the operation, they appreciate that they have blown it, and their only hope at this point of the game is to humiliate the nation, humiliate the military, humiliate everybody by offering a bounty for the arrest of Manuel Noriega, for information leading to his whereabouts. I mean, you are ashamed of that, aren't you? That's not the kind of thing that a great nation does. It's not the kind of thing that a nation that has any kind of competency does. A bounty. One more time, we're willing to deal with scum buckets for a short-term goal. One more time, we'll pay somebody to do something that he wouldn't have otherwise done. Simon, with a little bit of money, a few bucks here or there, to do what we are incapable of doing. $300 billion a year, give or take a few billion. Every toy imaginable. And we're hoping that some peasant would stumble upon Noriega and pick up a phone and call. You are ashamed, aren't you? I mean, you guys can't possibly support this thing. Let me give you the telephone number. 591-8900. 591-8900.
I am also very, very concerned with the lack of judgment here. It makes me concerned when I think not only I echo what I was thinking, what I wanted to say, and I almost echo what you were saying about the incompetence of this. And I find we go from one incompetent thing to another. If you go back where we shot down that Iranian airliner, at first they thought it was a warship.
Jet, right? Yeah.
And I think we can't afford to make mistakes like that. And I remember they're saying, well, those were dummies in the plane. And then you read about our...
You know, oh, God, you just triggered that whole episode. I remember I was working in Tampa at the time, but I'm sure it happened here, too. We'd have people calling us, going out of their way, scraping the bottom of the barrel. Well, the Iranians filled the plane with dead people and crashed it. We wouldn't have done anything like that. We do things like this constantly.
Yeah, and then another thing, we just pulled all our Navy in to make sure everything was seaworthy and not dangerous. What are we doing? I thought that was a continual thing, and it seems like we're. I agree with this Ortega thing. Ortega, excuse me.
Noriega, I know.
I would have thought because of before he would have pushed any button, he would have made sure and not have pulled the button until he made sure that we could get Noriega. Because I think we look so. It's not only immoral, it's totally incompetent.
And they have just put out an advertisement to the entire world that we are so incompetent that we feel our only hope, our best hope for catching Noriega is for one of his scum buckets to turn on him, and we'll give him $1 million.
Yeah, yes.
We'll continue to deal with the devil.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. 591-8900. Off it is now to the south side. Hi, South. You're on the air at WLS.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, Bob, I'd like to make a point. What you were talking about is, as long as Noriega is free, I think you're right that we have lost.
Exactly. Democracy has not been restored in Panama. Yeah, sure, they swore in a president, and they swore in 2 vice presidents, and they're both cowering under or all 3 of them are cowering under tables on a U.S. military base.
Right. I bet the middle-lane drug cartel has given it a $1 million bounty on him.
Well, again, that's an insult. $1 million? What the hell's $1 million?
Exactly.
Hey, here's the scourge of the earth, and we want him so bad, we'll give you $1 million for him. 45 cents a head.
Well, I just like to tell you I like your show. I want to make that point that about the $1 million myself. Where's Bush going to start next? Like you said, he's going to put a bounty on Gaddafi or somebody next?
Well, it would make a hell of a lot more sense than going in and wasting lives and then putting out a bounty. That's what he should have done in the first place.
Right, he should have done that before.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be too intelligent on his part.
I guess it would be. Thank you, my friend. Off it is to a car phone. Hi, car. You're on the air at WLS.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Am I on?
Yep.
Okay, number one, we, up until recently, we paid $1 million in gold for every MiG-23 or below that was delivered to us from China or Russia. We have a $5 million...
Totally different story.
Well, we have a $5 million standing offer for MiG-29 or prototypes beyond the MiG-29.
Totally different story.
Well, no, it isn't, because if you stop and think about it, we are offering a bounty only because he is a fugitive from justice in the United States.
Oh, give me a break, sir. We're offering a bounty because we don't have the capability of catching him, because we're too damned incompetent.
Excuse me, we can't assassinate him, and we can't offer a bounty in advance.
Oh.
Because that's illegal. And it was made illegal under Carter.
Well, so are invasions illegal, sir, without acts of war.
Excuse me, invasions are perfectly legal when an act of war is declared by a foreign government.
Oh, sir, first of all, Panama did not declare an act of war, sir. You know it as well as I do. You're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
You know something? You've reported it on your station. You talked...
No, sir. What you have heard said, but what you and a lot of other people would like to twist is that Noriega said that Panama and the United States were in a state of war. There was never an act of war declared, sir.
They
never.
A state of war. Now, how do you interpret that, Nutt? How do you interpret a state of war?
Sir, lots of countries are in a state of war without being in war. I think you might be able to say, for example, that the United States and Nicaragua are in a state of war. An indictment against Noriega. Noriega has a lawyer in this country. We have a problem with extraditing him, obviously, as long as he's the head of the government or in control of his own fate. I would like to see Noriega tried in absentia. If the evidence is there, then let's put him on trial. It's done all the time. He can represent himself or have himself represented by his U.S. counsel. And let's lay the cards on the table. Let's put what we have against this man on the table. I know one of the people that indicted Manuel Noriega. His name is Bob Merkel. He used to be a U.S. attorney in the Tampa district in Florida. Actually, it's Orlando, to be technical, I believe. He's an honest man. He's a good man. He's a decent man. If he says Noriega's guilty, I tend to believe him. I tend to believe he's got the goods on him. I'd like to see those goods put on the table.
Well, you're never going to get that from him. That's impossible. You're never going to find the guy, for one thing.
Well, I said try him in absentia. When he's not there. Absent.
Well, the next thing is them invading Panama. I think that's a joke. We got our butts kicked over in Vietnam. And the country's sitting back here thinking, well, what can we do to right ourselves? And basically, we're being shown up all over the country, all over the world, because the military just doesn't get the stuff it takes anymore. Now, I'm not saying that we're second-rate or nothing, but
I think we have second-rate management. We have second-rate management in the military. That's what it amounts to. People who would go in a situation like that, not knowing for sure where Noriega was and that he could be captured.
But the main thing here is that we wouldn't be involved down there to that extent if it wasn't for the CIA down there raising hell with the people. Down there agitating all the people, getting them all roused up. I mean, not necessarily in Panama, but all over the world. CIA's down in Nicaragua raising hell with them people. So then we have to come in and straighten it all out with our military.
I have every firm belief in an intelligence gathering agency.
Yeah.
But I just don't appreciate an agency that goes in and fools in the domestic affairs of other countries for good, bad, or indifferent. Who in the hell are we?
Yeah. See, when the Russians go in and do something like that, then, it's the real bad Russians. But when we're in there, no, that's perfectly legal and perfectly right. We need to gather all this information.
The CIA is an incompetent agency, hopelessly incompetent. And I'm beginning to think that that many of the people in the Pentagon and the upper echelon are also hopelessly incompetent. They're just out of touch with the real world. They're little boys playing games with pieces on a board. But unfortunately, they're real people that suffer.
I wish the public, the average Joe down the road, could say and put policies in with the CIA and say, hey, look, quit jerking the rest of the world around and leave them people alone. You know, so that we can mind our own business. Is basically the whole principle behind this. Get off their case.
Thank you, Shelby. Be good. 591-8900 to a car phone. We go next. Sidecar, you're on the air. Whoops, my mistake. It's not there. Let's go to Glenview. Hi, Glenn. You're on the air at WLS.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were saying that it would have been better to put out a bounty on the guy. And
well, sure. If you're going to humiliate yourself, why not start out that way? Save all that time and trouble in life.
Okay, what I want to say is, how are you going to catch a guy? How are you going to catch a guy in his position, surrounded by all his henchmen?
Well, gee, I mean, just keep offering more and more and more money.
Okay.
You know, everybody's got a price at some point. You know, one of his guys, I guess, would bring him in.
So you're saying if you just keep going higher and higher, sooner or later, one of his trusted few is going to...
Well, that's the theory behind a bounty, sir. You offer what you think it's going to take. And that's what the federal government has done. They have offered a $1 million bounty because they think that might work, knowing full well that they're incapable of doing the job.
Well, I don't put a lot of stock in that. I mean, these are guys that wouldn't do that for any amount of money for fear of...
Well, would you call George Bush after you get off the phone here and tell him that he's somewhat of a jerk?
Well, no, what I'm saying is it had to be this way because you have to flush the guy out of his protected little environment before you can put a bounty on him.
Oh, I see. You got $300 billion a year. You invade a country that has 3,500 soldiers who are relatively ill-equipped and ill-trained, has no real Air Force, has no Navy, has no defenses, has nothing, but, and you have 20-some thousand men, tremendous Air Force, all kinds of secret, great little toys, and you have to offer a bounty to flush him out? Geez, I don't remember them offering a bounty on, Hitler.
That's the whole idea. You cannot flush him out with a bounty. You have to flush him out with the military first, and if he runs off and tries to hide, you...
Yeah, offer a bounty.
Yeah, I can't see it going the other way around. It just... Who is going to turn on somebody with that much power and for any amount of money?
Oh, really? Don't you have a price?
Not when it comes to my life, no.
To your life?
Turning on someone that I know would have me killed if I did. I wouldn't take any amount.
You think Noriega wouldn't have people killed now?
Not in his position now. I think he's running and hiding somewhere. I think he's...
No, that's what you hope. You don't have any idea where he is.
Well, I believe he's...
And for all you know, he's sitting in a Hyatt Regency.
Think so?
No, sir, I don't think so. I don't play games. I don't pretend to know answers like some people do. 591-8900. Cold, Arctic cold, continuing tonight. Tomorrow, sunny, but still very, very cold. An overnight low of 15 degrees below zero. Only zero for a high tomorrow. -10 is the official as well as the lakefront temperature.
Chicago's 50,000-watt talk station, WLS, Talk Radio 890. From 312 and 708, dial 591-8900. 591-8900. Now, here is Bob Lassiter.
591-8900, as the man said. To Crete we go. Hi, Crete. You're on the air at WLS.
Crete.
Yep.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hey, I think you really hit the nail on the head when you said poor management a few calls back. I think that's exactly what it boils down to, period. Not to mention other things like bad intelligence, this, that, the other. But, tell you what, I expect better bread and circuses for my tax dollar. I really do. I'm disappointed.
You have every right to be.
Really, the main thing I'm disappointed about is that if they had better intelligence for the past, 30 years now, we've had a lot of P-52s. We could have caught him if we had intelligence and knew where he was.
we wouldn't have lost a guy. We could have taken him out, taken the headquarters out, put our government into Panama, and it would have been relatively bloodless, at least on our side, and there wouldn't be a number of weeping mothers on our side of the fence.
Well, it really makes you question everything that comes out of the CIA in the way of intelligence. If this agency cannot keep their eye on one high-profile man in a relatively small, confined area,
you got it.
You know, how in the hell are we supposed to believe their counts on missiles in the Soviet Union or whatever it might be?
Well, hopefully that's the DIA instead of the CIA. One can hope.
Yeah, you can hope. It's about the only thing you can do.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
Bye.
591-8900, 591-8900. You guys are embarrassed about this, aren't you? Downtown Chicago. Hi, downtown. You're on the air at WLS.
Bob Lassiter, how you doing?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Good. Listen, for $1 million, I wouldn't go look for Noriega, but I'd consider it for $10 million. But anyway, I had called there before. I just want to tell you I enjoy the show, and I have mixed feelings on what's going on. At first, I was, a staunch supporter of what happened, and then I listened to the news last night and heard Gus Savage, who I don't hold the greatest respect for all the time. I do respect some of the things he says, but everything that's going on throughout South Africa, that is an atrocity there, and I'm wondering if he had any valid points, and after reassessing my machismo of them going and pouncing on Panama, and then thinking about what Savage said, I kind of figure now, if we can do it there, we can do it in South Africa. And another point I want to make is, it seems that we flex our muscle with some of the smaller countries. And when that plane went down over the Soviet Union that they blast out of the sky, I'm wondering if the Soviet Union had taken this kind of action against the U.S. in terms of drug trafficking and all that, and all the things that Noriega is going through, would the United States be as prone to do what they did to Panama?
I have no problem with going after Noriega whatsoever. I have a very serious problem in how it was done. I also have a very serious problem if we have all of this evidence, enough to indict the man, enough to go in and kill innocent people who got caught in between to go get him. Why in the hell don't we at least put him on trial, get a conviction, then it would be perfectly legal, et cetera, and justifiable. Just the whole thing stinks. The whole thing stinks. It makes you wonder, why are they doing this? Is there something else they're trying to keep us from paying attention to?
Mm-hmm. The thing is, you have to get the man first. Now, I heard on the earlier show, I think yesterday or today, that they had him in their grips, but let him go for some reason or another.
No, what you're referring to is a report from the coup attempt last October that was never confirmed, is still, to the best of my knowledge, just a rumor, that forces of the Panamanian military had Noriega in their possession, called the U.S. Embassy and said, do you want him? And the U.S. Embassy supposedly said, well, gee, I don't know, we'll have to get back to you on that. Mm-hmm. That I do not believe is true.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge.
Another concern that I have is that I just heard today that the Nicaraguan military had surrounded the U.S. embassies.
Right, in Managua.
And it seems like it's a domino theory that...
Well, now, wait a second. You only heard half the story. It is in retaliation for the U.S. surrounding the Nicaraguan embassy in Panama City.
Why would they do that? And thinking that he would be there?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I enjoy your show. I called there before, and I hope it was a profound statement. I had mentioned that being a black entrepreneur, and I don't know if it stuck to you or not, but I enjoy your show, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew who I was when I
remember your call.
Yeah. But enjoy your show. I'm a staunch supporter. Stephen Gary's out.
Okay. Take care. 591-8900 be the telephone number. One more hour yet to go. Please, whatever you do not venture very far. What it simply boils down to is the bounty. I would hope that you understand the significance of the bounty. It's an admission of failure, and it's something that a great nation shouldn't ever have to stoop to. I would hope that you understand the significance of it and that you would be deeply embarrassed and humiliated by it. I would hope. The news is next.
Wishing you the best of the season. This is WLS Chicago Talk Radio 890. WLS. Time at the Jingle Bells, 6 o'clock.
Still, bring your own, isn't it? BYU is the university. BYO is the party format. I've just been handed the job listing by Bob Lassiter. Apparently, a cheap hint that I may be looking for employment. I have security. My security is my wit, my resume, and my talent. I do. This doesn't say laugh. We script the show early in the morning. Let me see your script.
Johnson ad-libs about credentials. You remain silent.
Is being understated, and I do believe that. I do believe that more lives have been lost than we will know about. However, in order to get Noriega, who they did not get, look how many innocent lives have been lost, and we put Noriega in there, not those 2,000 innocent people. You know, it's hypocrisy. It goes on. It's alive and well.
Thank you very much. This time it's Park Ridge. Hi, Park. You're on the air at WLS.
Hello.
Hello, Park Ridge.
Yes. I have a question I want to ask you. Is there, to your knowledge, are there any Central or South American countries that have approved of our action?
To my knowledge, no.
Because in the paper today I read that even Chile had criticized this action. And these are the countries that have to live most closely with Panama and other Central American countries. And I certainly want to compliment you. I listened to the other talk shows on your station, and it's amazing that the amount of jingoism and artificial nationalism and patriotism, so-called...
Well, there's one thing that you must understand when you listen to talk radio, and I'm not accusing anybody that works at the station of being guilty of this, but I have worked with a lot of people who were. Talk show hosts frequently keep in mind their popularity and frequently will express a populist opinion that they may not even believe in themselves because they're concerned about commercial endorsements or upsetting sponsors or things of this nature.
I see. Well, maybe that accounts for me.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Okay. Good luck, and I'm very grateful that you're on so that we can hear another point of view.
Thank you very much. 591-8900, 591-8900 to the southwest side of Chicago we go. Hi there, Southwest.
How you doing, Bob?
Fine, thank you.
Anyways, I'm in the military. Been in the military about 15 years. And everybody sits there and talks about how incompetent we are.
No. Nobody's talking about... One second, sir. No, it is not what I said. I made it real clear when I was talking about the incompetency of the military, the incompetency of the CIA. We're not talking about foot soldiers. We're talking about the guys that direct the foot soldiers who sit behind big desks in Washington.
Okay, first of all, our military intelligence is probably one of the best in the world. Now...
Oh, well, that may be, but it's obviously hopelessly no good.
2 hours before the invasion, the media is sitting there telling troop movement. Is that not going to alert somebody?
Sir, what was reported in this country was old news in Panama.
2 hours. We're in electronic media.
Well, we may be in electronic media, sir, but you can see the Air Force base in Panama from outside, and they've been watching planes land for hours. They knew from that, not from the media.
Leaving the States.
Sir, they could see them coming. They didn't have to monitor CNN.
That's right. They were leaving the States to start with, and the media's...
And on top of that, sir, if I was going to be conducting an invasion where one of the key elements of that invasion was capturing Mr. Noriega, I don't think I would have... And if I did lose sight of him, I would have stopped the invasion on its spot.
It also bounty, right?
For Stacy Taylor, inside the minds of young Russians. Makes a little more sense than the first one, but not much. Off it is this time to a car phone. Hi, car. You're on the air at WLS.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes. First, let me just say that I agree with you in almost everything you said. But I can't believe that everybody is so naive to think that we invaded a country like Panama to get a drug smuggler. I mean, there's drug smugglers in Colombia. We don't invade Colombia. There's only one reason for us to have troops in Panama. We got a government down there that is anti-American that pretty soon is going to own the Panama Canal. I mean, drug smugglers are a dime a dozen. If we wanted to invade countries, there's got to be 4 or 5 of them that we're going to invade, or 6 or 7. But the Panama Canal is behind this whole thing. Why think that we should invade a country to get one man, a drug smuggler? Everybody is being just led astray by our government. We want to control the Panama Canal, or we want a government down there that's going to allow us to have control of the Panama Canal. And Ortega's not the guy that's going to do that.
Well, Noriega. That's a very distinct possibility. At this point, my mind is boggled. I cannot begin to imagine why we did it.
No, I can't either. I mean, we don't...
Well, I can begin to imagine going after Noriega. That I can imagine, and I am not opposed to going after Noriega.
Oh, yeah, but there's drug smugglers all... Why don't we go into Colombia? I mean, there's 40 or 50 of them there. You know, and he probably just passes their stuff on.
Well, that's all he's really ever been accused of.
Well, I know that, so that is not a reason to invade a country to get a drug smuggler. We have never done nothing like that before, and we probably would never do it again. But this country wants the Panama Canal. There's no doubt about it. Or they want somebody that's going to control the Panama Canal to be on our side. Well, I think they were after a drug smuggler.
Well, of course, but of course the flaw in that particular set of logic on the part of the administration, if indeed that is their logic, the flaw is that the Panama Canal has virtually no value whatsoever unless it is for commerce coming to and from this country. So it would do nobody any good to have it and close it down.
Well, I don't say they would close it down.
Or prevent U.S. shipping.
Well, they could raise rates, they could do whatever they want, but they would control it. They would take over complete control of it. I mean, they could allow who they wanted to go through it, who they didn't want to go through it. You know, if they were, let's say they're pro-Russian, I don't have the foggiest idea, or pro-somebody else that's anti-American. You know,
but again, I point out to you that without U.S. shipping, it has no value.
Without U.S. shipping?
Yeah.
Well, we're not the only ones that use the Panama Canal.
For all practical purposes, we are, sir.
I don't think so.
Oh, whether or not you think so, for all practical purposes, the majority of traffic that goes through it is U.S. related. Maybe
that's even a bigger reason then. If they're going to control it,
Sir, I'm going to point out to you again, it has no value if you block out U.S. shipping.
Well, I understand what you're saying. If you block out U.S. shipping, it doesn't have a value. But if they raise the rates, if they control it, if they say what can go through it, what can't.
Sir, if they raise the rates and people stop using it, it again comes back to having no value.
Can you still, why go after a drug smuggler and invade a country to get a drug smuggler?
Maybe because they thought it was
Does that make sense to you, really?
No, it doesn't make sense to me. But maybe it was because they thought it would be a popular thing to do.
Oh my goodness! I mean, there's
it's a possibility, sir.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I guess. But boy, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I know of no scenario that makes sense.
Gaddafi would be. Somebody mentioned Gaddafi before. I mean, that. I think the whole country would set up and say, "Hey, let's go get Gaddafi before they go get Noriega." Yeah. Or Iran, the guy that's leading Iran. But it boggles my mind to think that we go into a small country like that with the only strategic importance is the Panama Canal. The only strategic importance is the Panama Canal, and maybe, and again, I'm just theorizing it. Maybe it was, let's say the Russians had it. Let's just say the Russians control it, or somebody who was on the Russian side or whatever. I said, okay, you are no longer going to allow American naval vessels to go through.
Sir,
I don't know.
Sir, let's see if we can't walk through this one. Suppose the Russians did get it, and suppose the Russians closed it off, severely damaging this country economically and militarily. What is that tantamount to, sir? It's tantamount to World War III. And if the Russians want to start World War III, they wouldn't have to go to that much trouble. Nobody is going to see...
Well, just to make life harder on the U.S., I'm not sure which. I'm not that much in that kind of politics or whatever, but I just can't see, what we're doing for so little. If that's all we're going is for some, mice nuts smuggler.
Thank you very much. 591-8900. Hyde Park. Hyde, you're on the air, WLS.
Is this Hyde Park?
Yeah.
My sister encouraged me to call. She was the teacher that talked to the young kids. Bob, I am not going to debate who's right, who's wrong, but I do agree with you. And because you lived through Vietnam, as I did, where is the deference to soldiers? I watched the caskets get off of the plane.
Yeah, while George Bush was holding his press conference, patting himself on the back for this great, noble effort.
Bob, I listened to Don Wade, God Bless America. He was horrible. I don't know anyone that died, but I have high school classmates who died in Vietnam. I want your opinion. What did you feel? Perhaps you were working and you didn't see the caskets unloaded.
Oh, no, I saw it.
Devastated.
I saw it. While George Bush literally was holding his press conference, patting himself on the back, they were unloading caskets at the Air Force Base.
What do you think about?
Turned my stomach.
Don Wade would call me a bleeding heart liberal. I guess my sister is too. She's a bleeding heart teacher. I'm a bleeding heart too.
Hell, at least Ronald Reagan used to go to the...
They died, their families. I am so devastated when I watch those caskets. Tears rolled.
Well, at least Ronald Reagan used to go to the airport and welcome them home. George Bush held a press conference.
And so where do we go from here? I mean, Don Wade, God Bless America, and these young boys, they're coming home in body bags. And is it the fact that I'm a woman and perhaps I'm a little more emotional? I am so devastated here at the holidays when I watch those caskets get off the plane. Or am I bleeding heart liberal? And I don't care who's right, who's wrong. We're talking young boys, 30, 19, 18, all races, all religions. It doesn't matter.
No, it just doesn't matter to these guys at all. Thank you very much. Offered us to Springfield. Spring, you're on the air, WLS.
Springfield?
Yep.
I want to thank you very much for your program. I got turned on to your program a few weeks ago by a discussion at my coffee where I have that here in Springfield.
Oh, my God, they're discussing me in coffee shops in Springfield?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it, Bob. I'll tell you what. But let me say this, that after I found out about your program, I listened, and I caught you on the monologue. And immediately my blood started pumping, and I didn't agree with whatever the particular thing was that night. And what your program has done is made me question, why do I believe this? And try to research the different subjects that you bring up and find out that a lot of what I thought was my basic beliefs, if you will, are really not really founded in substance. And your program has really spurred me to try to find out what I really believe in, and I appreciate it. And
well, it's the whole purpose of the show. I have very strong opinions and beliefs. I also have the knowledge that I may be wrong. So the best way I know of is to get a good, heated discussion going, because maybe somebody out there can point out a flaw in my logic and change my way of thinking, too, instead of just calling me up and telling me I'm fatter than,
Well, it
wife
really
has smart, whatever it might be.
it really is stimulating, and what it's causing me to do is to say, well, for some reason I agree or I don't agree, and then try to research out some of the facts, and it's actually adding to the foundation of some of the things that I thought I believed in, but don't have any substance to it. And
hey, we all have those kinds of beliefs, myself included.
I appreciate it, and you're outspoken, and it makes the blood flow. Thanks.
Thank you.
You bet.
Take care. 591-8900. Hammond, hi, you're on the air at WLS.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Hammond.
I'd just like to say that I am terribly disgusted that a bounty has been offered for Noriega.
It's an embarrassment.
It's a mockery of the soldiers dying. and trying to capture Noriega.
Not even 24 hours into the invasion, and they're offering a bounty already. In other words, saying, we blew it.
It's not, I have total faith in the military, and it's not their fault. I believe we can narrow it down to leadership.
Well, you say you have total faith in the military. I have total faith in the guy who carries the rifle and wears the green uniform. I don't have any faith in the guys that wear the brass and sit behind big desks. They're playing games on boards.
I believe they're capable of capturing Noriega, but, as you said before, I believe that it was in planning for several months.
Well, I wish they'd given as much thought to capturing Noriega as they gave to the cute little name that they came up with for the operation.
That was amusing.
Yeah, because I just fail to see any evidence of them giving real serious consideration to the ramifications of what could happen if this didn't work. If this didn't, and it had to work quick. And boy, when you start rolling those tanks and dropping those men out of airplanes on parachutes, and you don't know where he is for sure, and you don't know for sure that you can get him and get him quick, then you are risking life needlessly. American life as well as Panamanian life.
No, I'd just like to say, the first I heard of the bounty was on your show. I don't get a chance to watch the news and read the papers as much as I should. But I do believe it's a terrible disgrace to the soldiers who gave their lives and were the American cause.
Yeah, me too. And I think it was also a terrible disgrace that George Bush was patting himself on the back at his press conference while they were unloading coffins.
That's very comical.
Yeah, real funny.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
591-8900, 591-8900. Northbrook, hi, you're on the air at WLS.
Hi, Bob. I'm a relatively new listener to your show, and let me tell you that I'm far from a political intellectual. I'm a medical student. But one observation that I've had...
I see you're into real estate.
one observation that I've made from the other callers, or one thing that hasn't been brought up, is that maybe the United States isn't really interested in finding Noriega.
Maybe not. Sure, it's a possibility. In this crazy world, anything's a possibility. You mean, in other words, maybe they're interested in driving him into Nicaragua or Cuba. Well, I suppose that's possible.
Let them establish the so-called democracy in Panama, and, there may be more turmoil and more red tape by having Noriega in our control than if we just let him get lost in the jungle or let him get lost in Cuba.
Yeah, but see, if we let him get lost in the jungle, then we have virtually no choice whatsoever except to maintain a military presence outside of the Canal Zone in Panama proper, which obviously is not exactly establishing a democracy. It's establishing an occupation, which is what we may have to do. Not because we're evil, corrupt, nasty people, but because we've created such a mess that there's no other hope. There's a power vacuum right now in Panama.
You're very critical of our leadership, and I do agree with you that there is incompetence. But don't you think that they have some kind of quality motives for doing the kinds of things that they're doing? Don't you think that these people who have risen to the top of our military...
Yes, I think that if you're asking me, if I think that they have the best of intentions at heart, then my answer is unequivocally yes. I think they have the best of intentions. I do not believe they are evil, mean men. I believe that they are men who have flaws just like all men do. They sometimes make mistakes. They sometimes get involved in their own power trips, their own ego trips, and they sometimes lose touch with reality.
But don't they have the experience and the knowledge in military operations suitable enough to have designed an operation here that's going to be somewhat effective?
Have you ever noticed?
And it's not as full-blown idiotic as you're making it out to be?
Do you know of any such operation in the last 40 or 50 years?
I don't know. I told you.
Neither do I.
These are just the senses that I've been getting.
Neither do I. I mean, we stuck 241 Marines in a barracks in the middle of an airfield where they were literally easy targets in Lebanon simply for a display of the flag. We then insulted everyone's intelligence when all of the troops were pulled out of Lebanon and brought back to North Carolina by calling it a redeployment. Officially, we are still there. All we did was redeploy the troops, 6,000 miles back to North Carolina. the Grenada invasion, where we bombed a mental hospital, where we shot down our own helicopters, where we took 2 weeks with 6,000 troops to round up 700 construction workers. There was another example, too, that I thought of earlier this afternoon, which right now I draw a blank on. Okay, the Libyan bombing. Outrageous. Since no one in Europe would cooperate with us, we flew this incredibly dangerous mission, straining equipment and men to the absolute maximum to go over and drop what the Army calls smart bombs that literally landed in dumb places like the French embassy, missed the target completely insofar as Gaddafi is concerned. You know, it's just one military fiasco after another, just one wild, crazy ego trip gone mad. At least that's the way it looks to me.
Well, but you're seeing right through the charades, which every person ideally should. But let's face it, everybody in this country, in fact, most people in this country, don't see right through the charades.
That's why they can get away with it.
And most people's opinions are shaped by the media and by other forms of communication that the government portrays. So if you're able to see through it, that's great. But let's face it, most people can't. And so a stunt like this might be just a political stunt by George Bush to improve the opinions of those Americans that he's trying to impress upon.
Yes, it well could be, and that's a horrible, horrible thought that he would put so many people at risk.
I agree.
For political purposes, and it is a possibility. Whether or not it's an actuality, I don't know. I'm not a soothsayer. I just can go on what I do see and don't pretend to know what I can't see. But it's a scary possibility.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5918900 Ottawa. Hi, you're on the air at WLS Ottawa.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Oh, man, I cannot even believe some of your opinions, you know?
Oh, really? Which ones don't you like?
Oh, it's like you and all these armchair quarterbacks, generals that sit back...
Well, rather than talking generalities and trying to insult me, why don't you tell me specifically which opinions you disagree with?
I mean, you're talking about things you know absolutely nothing
Well, why don't you give me some specifics? It's a 4-hour show and it's almost over.
Okay, like the genius that said, why don't we drop a bomb on the...
That's not what I said, sir. I thought you said I had bad opinions.
Oh, you do?
Well, what are some? I'm going to ask you for the third and final time. Notice that's a key word. Final time. What are some of my opinions that you think are so misinformed?
If I were in charge, see, when we go down there, these guys...
Sir, I'm going to give you the break of your life and ask you for a fourth, and I promise you now, final time, because the next word out of your mouth... Oh, he hung up. Oh, pity. Fine. Gosh golly. Gave him 3 chances. Southside, hi, you're on the air at WLS. Hello, Southside.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Oh, I am. Well, I was so frustrated last night, I couldn't believe some of the callers, and again tonight. They are very poorly informed. Last night, after listening to your show, I turned on Channel 11. They had 2 professors who are experts on South America, Central America, and both did say something very similar to the one man that called from the car phone, that yes, the treaty is involved in this. It's more than just Noriega. However, it is interesting, isn't it, that another commentator this morning mentioned how they had fought all night when the Panamanians only have, 6,000 troops against our 22,000?
No, they have 3,500 so-called regular Army troops. Then there's the police department and this 11,000-man quasi-militia, I forget what they call it, but it's not regular Army by any stretch of the imagination. 3,500 regular Army.
Well, it is unbelievable. The other thing that came up, if we were even to get Noriega, who is going to testify against him? The CIA?
I don't know.
I mean, the whole thing is just preposterous. I am surprised at how few people really are involved in finding out the facts. I'm also disappointed in our Senate. I don't feel that they should have backed this once it even began, because it's an embarrassment to us. Not one single country except Britain. And we backed them in the Malvinas.
You bring up something very interesting, something I thought about doing yesterday and never got around to. Early yesterday morning, Senator Paul Simon's office put out a statement, and it was faxed to us and I guess every other broadcast and news facility in the state. And in that initial statement that came out early in the morning, Simon hedged all the way around and said, well, maybe it's an okay thing. I guess in view of the history. And then later in the afternoon, when Mr. Simon, and I guess a lot of other senators, started to lick their finger and hold it up to see which way the wind was blowing, decided that, well, we better get behind this because 80 to 90% of the American people are behind it. I should have read you that initial statement that Simon put out. It was a lot different than the one he put out in the afternoon.
Well, I heard a little bit, but I have been very disappointed in some of the commentators. All they're doing is going to, to the administration to find out what has happened. None of them have explored back as to how Noriega became who he is, what our position has been down there, why we're involved. We have no business doing all this. We know that. But just cause. There's no just cause involved.
Well, I don't totally agree with you when you say we have no business doing this. I do think we have business trying to apprehend Manuel Noriega. But in terms of a full-blown invasion of a country where a lot of people who have nothing whatsoever to do with this get in between, there I agree with you. We have no business. There are other ways of having done it.
Well, if we sent that many troops down there and instead had put them right here on our borders to try and do something about drugs, maybe we could accomplish more in the long run.
Maybe we could.
Thanks, and it's been nice talking to you.
Thank you.
I'm from Old Knee, and I'd just like to know who you think you are.
I'm Bob Lassiter, sir. This is my show. That's who I think I am.
Which means the word of
I'm a U.S.
the United States,
I'm also a U.S. citizen, sir, and as such, I'm entitled to an opinion.
Well, if there's a bunch of wimps like you, there would not be any freedom here.
Oh, a bunch of wimps like me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're
well, sir, I doubt very much that statement is true, but I'll tell you a statement that is true. If there were a bunch of stupid idiots like you who waste life needlessly, then you're right. We wouldn't be here. There wouldn't be anybody left.
People froze to death here in Chicago in the last few days. 10 people froze to death, and you're worried about people doing their job over there, keeping this country free, and you...
Keeping this country free. How are they keeping this country free, sir?
They've been doing it for...
How are they keeping this country free, sir? What has been done in the last 48 hours in Panama to keep this country free? Not a damn thing, sir. It's idle rhetoric. You don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
The only reason you can say what you feel like you're talking like an idiot is because you're in the United States.
Oh, I'm talking like an idiot.
Whatever you want.
You can say they're down there keeping this country free, and I'm the one who's talking like an idiot.
Yeah,
and what, sir?
I hope the people who lost sons over there aren't listening to you.
Oh.
They might think, gee, maybe this guy's got a point.
Oh, you would much rather them listen to somebody who supports the needless waste of American life.
That's right.
Do you know what you just said, you jerk? Do you know what you just said? I'll give him a second to get back to his radio. Dun, 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 dun. I said, sir, you would much rather they listen to somebody who supports the needless waste of American life. And you said, that's right. Well, at least you told us the truth. Naperville, you're on the air at WLS.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Let me first tell you, you're doing a very good job by giving your unbiased opinion.
No, it's a very biased opinion, sir, but I give my opinion.
Well, I think it's very unbiased because a lot of people in this country seem to support whatever the government does, but that's not necessarily right all the time, which is what I think. Another point that I would like to make is that I don't think that the United States, which it calls itself to be the country which stands out for democracy and everything, I don't think a country like the United States can can or should go into any other country just on the basis that that country's ruler is the drug smuggler. Do you think that is right or wrong?
Well, I would imagine that my opinion should be relatively well known on that particular issue. No, I don't think it's right. No, I think it's right to go in and apprehend a criminal. If the country will not cooperate, I can see some justification. I can see a lot of justification in that. But I don't see any justification in a mindless, stupid invasion that jeopardizes life and the tranquility of a nation when you don't even know what the hell you're doing or where the guy is.
Well, the thing is, the whole idea of forming a country is that when a country is formed, you should respect the right of that country. And
well, you're forgetting who formed Panama. You see, that's why we don't respect Panama. We stole it from Colombia.
Yeah, that, you have a point there. But, in any case, I mean, what kind of example does the United States set by going in a country and killing, Panamanian people, innocent people, because they think that Noriega is involved in drug dealing. My other point is, what about the other Latin American countries? What would they think,
Well, we know what they think. They don't like the invasion, and they've said so.
Well, they don't like the invasion, but what about, Nicaragua or maybe Cuba? If I was a Cuban or a Nicaraguan, I would think the next country the United States would invade is, probably Nicaragua.
They do think that way, sir. It's why they maintain incredibly large military machines at great cost where the money could be used far better. They're terrified of an invasion, and rightfully so. I've got to run. I'm out of time for this particular day. I'm out of time for this particular show. Tomorrow is something a little bit different. Tomorrow it's something I've done every year for the last several years in other markets. I want to take you home with me for Christmas. It's just kind of my way of a little Christmas present, and I would hope that you will join me tomorrow at 3. I've had a lot of very strange Christmases, and I know so have you. See you tomorrow. Love you, Chicago.